Welcome to the show, Tim Downey, everybody. You may know him as Gale from Baldur's Gate 3. Mate, it is an absolute pleasure and honor. How are you?
Very well, my friend. Very, very well. Yeah, it's what is it? Sunday morning here in Ottawa. I've been on night shoots, so I'm a little bit. I don't know what day it is. I literally don't know what day it is. Could be Saturday, could be Sunday. Who cares? In one respect, who knows?
What's a night shoot like? Talk us through that as an actor, a night shoot. What are we talking in terms of how it's all operating?
Oh, it's something we all live in dread of. You will spend because they'll work it on a split day. So you'll do a full normal day the day before, and then they've got to give you, I think it's 12 hours off. So you'll finish on like the Monday evening, and then sort of Tuesday evening at about 7 o'clock at night will be the beginning part of your day. So then, but they'll structure it like it's a normal day. So you will get to work at 7 o'clock in the evening. They'll say, so what do you want for breakfast? Which just completely throws you because everything is the same, but it's dark. It's completely dark and it's 7 o'clock at night. And then you will work through all the way through till sunup, which is about 7 o'clock in the morning. So you'll do a full night, which is quite heavy. One is all right, but then we've done a week of them. So it's like, oh my God.
So are you a morning or night person usually?
You know what? I think when I was younger, I was a night owl, real night owl. And then as I've got older, I've become much more of a morning person. I think kids also do that to you. They force you to do that. You don't really have a choice in the matter. So I will suddenly find myself like at 6 o'clock in the morning going, well, I'm wide awake now. So, which is then not good when you're doing a night shoot, because I will then wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Go back to bed this instant.
But you can't bring them with you for these trips, can you? I'm guessing you're missing them at the moment.
Yeah, very, very much. I really am missing them. But no, it's not great because, fun. You're just like, oh yeah, let's come to Canada. Yeah, it'd be great. But Dad's still got to get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and go to work. So the fun of, oh, we're in Canada. Well, off you go. You go and amuse yourself in a city you don't know where anything is and have no idea how the transport system works. And I'm going to go and then come back probably when you're in bed. So yeah, it's they're best at home with their friends and everything and knowing what they're doing.
Are you allowed to say what you're in Canada for?
Yeah, it's Netflix series called Geek Girl, which is based on a series of books, young adult books by Holly Smale. And so I play Holly's dad. I've reached that part of my casting, Dan.
Wow, no. You're in the next phase of your career.
Next phase. When that that ticks over, you go, I'm here now. I see. But it's great. It's a really lovely cast, great crew. And the story is it's all modern day, which is quite unique for me because usually I'm in just ye olde costumes. Oh yeah. Even with Baldur's Gate, it's not exactly jeans and a t-shirt, so you get used to that. But it's lovely. Yeah, so the story's about Harriet Manners, who girl at school, always been a bit different to her friends and contemporaries, and then gets diagnosed with autism. So then the story is then about celebrating neurodiversity, and saying, you can still have a wonderful life and friends and career and family and prospects and fun and happiness and all of that. So it's a very positive message.
That's a nice message.
So it's a lovely thing to be a part of.
And speaking of books, I know you're a big book reader. That bookshelf of yours at home is incredible. I'm at awe of that.
Thank you. It's taken many years and many minor battles with my wife to say, no, it needs to be here. And as groaning as it is, I need every book here. How many times? That doesn't matter. Don't get into the details of how many times I've read it. Doesn't matter about that. I need all those books. I need all my first edition Philip K. Dicks and J.G. Ballards. I need them all just in case somebody says, do you know a good book? I can go, this one.
I was about to ask you now. What would you pick out as a good recommendation to Baldur's Gate 3 fans off the collection?
Oh, now that is an absolute hummer of a question. I would probably go some Clive Barker. Do you know what? That's probably quite a good, solid place to start. One of the greatest fantasists, I would argue, of all time, and world builders. So, Imagika, for instance, is an extraordinary kind of just crosses times and worlds and galaxy, all kinds of things. And he doesn't hold back as well, Clive Barker, obviously known for Hellraiser and Cabal and those kind of books and the Scarlet Gospels. And so it's very, very visceral and tried to be imitated many, many times and never bettered, I think. So something by Clive Barker. I would go, Imajika is quite big. Start with Cabal, I would say, which was Nightbreed, which was made into Nightbreed, with David Cronenberg playing the baddie there. Spoiler.
Wow.
He was in that, big Barker fan, but was classically ruined in the edit. The edit of that was supposed to be this big sprawling epic, and then the studios narrowed it down to like an hour and a half, and then there's been a re-edit to reinstate the full Clive Barker director's cut of that, and it's brilliant. I love it. But
are you a film buff?
Massive film buff.
Were you Oppenheimer or Barbie?
Do you know what? We didn't go and see Oppenheimer, but we did go and see Barbie. And to be honest with you, I loved it. I thought this is a beautiful piece of filmmaking. It's stunning. And little details that I really enjoyed. Like, for instance, Barbie's dream house is 22% smaller than the human size because Barbie itself is 22% too big for like the Barbie car and the Barbie house. And so they integrated that into the making of it. And you think, that's detailing. I appreciate that. And the fact they ran out of pink paint. There was a shortage in the UK of pink paint because of that film.
No, really?
Yeah, apparently so. They used so much of it to paint all the sets. There was a shortage of paint. Love that.
You got to give him marketing props because there was a billboard, I think it was here in Australia, it was just pink. That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else. You know.
I mean,
when do you see that?
What power for that? You don't. It's like the one-word names. It's like Cher or Madonna. I don't need surnames. I don't need that. Just.
You think you could get away with that, Tim?
There's going to be one of the blandest signs you'll ever think. Tim, what could that? I mean, it will just breathe like, oh, yeah, great. Tim, like Tim the Enchanter is probably the only. Well, that maybe Roth and Dalton and that kind of thing. But you know, we're limited. We're limited in Tims.
While we're on film, who's your favorite filmmakers? What's some of your favorite films? Just quickly.
My favorite, the films I return to again and again and again are The Shining.
Great film, yep.
Which I just absolutely adore. I love Kubrick and I love that, and I love Jack Nicholson as well. So the combination of that. Just superb. I would go quite old school. Like I really love Ingmar Bergman, Swedish director from the 1940s stuff. But some of his work, it is so dark and challenging. And I would recommend The Seventh Seal. If no one's seen it, it's the classic film. They parody all the time. Most famous parody is obviously Bill and Ted, where they play Death Plays Battleships. And that is one of the opening sequences. They don't play battleships in Bergman's Seventh Seal. They play chess on the shores of the Swedish coast. And it's the challenge of death is coming to take the knight during this time of plague. And he bargains with him during the chess game for a bit more time. But it's dark and it's great and it asks questions. So I will always go back to that. And then if I want something lighter, Buster Keaton is an absolute, because I love comedy. So Buster Keaton's The General is an absolute Sunday. Oh, put that on.
I was going to say, what's some dumb comedies? What's some dumb comedies you like? You know, just no brains needed. Just sit back, relax, have a bit of fun. Mine's Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's a great film.
Yeah.
That's really fun. I would put on a Mel Brooks. Like Young Frankenstein was the film I grew up with. I just find that's real comfort blanket stuff, that is. You just put it on and you let Gene Wilder just blow you away. Did you watch
Fawlty Towers growing up?
Oh yeah.
Jeez, I found that funny.
I mean, I'm English. Of course I watch Fawlty Towers.
I thought so, but
watch it.
That's a funny show. I tell you what.
Oh, it's just relentlessly good and clever and just all together with just physical comedy and funny lines and just brilliantly performed. You think, yeah, that's amazing. And there's only 12. They didn't overstay their welcome. I know. There is only 12. So that's well done. Well done.
It's tough to do these days with all the sequels and that.
It really is, and all the money being thrown at it. But it's good to because obviously the BBC wanted to do more, but they said no, that's it.
Good on them.
Which is great.
So talk to me about, this is your first ever game, right? Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
First ever game. You picked one of the greatest games in years. How did you manage that
what
one?
What are the chances, eh? What are the chances? I'm just waiting. I was biding my time down.
Yeah.
Biding my time. I know my stuff. I do my research. No, it was just complete fluke and luck. And it's just one of those things that came in and they said, do you want to audition for this? And I said, yeah, okay, great. What am I doing? There's a couple of parts. And I was looking at what the parts were. And one was a Cambion demon. That was one of them, which was probably the one I went, oh, that's quite fun, playing some sort of winged devil. Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to do that. And the other one was Gale, wizard. I thought, okay, great. And some of the references for that were the one they mainly mentioned was Henry Cavill from the Tudors. So I thought, well, I'm an absolute spit. I mean, obviously, I look absolutely identical.
Even better, actually.
Even better. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. So I thought, okay, well, I'll try for both and just see what happens. So you send them off and you wait, and then they came back and they said they'd love you to play this. And you still don't know what the game is. You still don't know what the name is, even though that would mean nothing to me whatsoever. But that was all very kind of kept under wraps. And it was just like a fantasy. It was a fantasy game. So I thought, great. Fantasy, love fantasy, big into that anyway. Yeah, this will be a lot of fun.
But were you trepidatious knowing that it was a game? Because you're not very familiar with this landscape, are you?
Totally. So I was literally starting from ground zero. Like I don't understand, or I hadn't been shown what the kind of narratives and structures are of actually putting together a game, what a game means, how it all kind of strings together, how you record it. Do you learn the lines? Do you not learn the lines? What exactly goes into making it? Goes into the kind of just the nuts and bolts of it. So you were literally learning on the job of kind of thinking, okay, well, these are the lines. You get the script beforehand for your session. You go through it. You kind of make your choices, and then when they throw in the element of, it's also mocap, you go, oh, great, okay. And you think you know mocap because you've seen those pictures of Marvel films going, oh yeah, okay, I'll be in a morph suit. That's what that is, and I'll be doing all that. And it's all very different. And then you kind of it is a gradual, slow process of working out, what can I do, what can't I do? Is this a good thing to do? I'm giving too much of a screen performance, and so it's not registering, because obviously you're capturing it, and also there's a whole world behind you that you have to make up. You have to kind of say, oh, okay, I'm standing here now, and there's a dragon, and there's a castle, and there's a horde of drow. Okay, what's a drow? What's that? What does that look like? Oh, we'll find a picture. It looks like this. All right, that's cool. And there's lots of them. Yeah, they're horrible things. Oh, okay, great. Oh, all right. Okay, all right, we'll do it. And so I found it just an extraordinary, big, steep learning curve. I think I went in far too kind of casual, kind of thinking, oh, okay, really? It's going to be like voiceover and a few little bits. That's going to be fine. And then the full scale of work that is needed, not even knowing what the game is, but just the artistry of what is needed to create in a completely different medium was extraordinary. It was like, wow, okay, this is a real skill. This is a real art to doing this, and doing it well and convincingly, and marrying together voice and physical work. So yeah, I found it like a very much a baptism by fire in those first good few sessions, probably a couple of months of sessions, to kind of bed it in and think, okay, and how I want to move this character on. What is the character I want to play in this? How do I want him to be? So that was very interesting.
Was the first scene where we meet him, was that the first scene you ever shot?
Oh, I've got absolutely no idea what my first scene was. But I think the first scene when you meet him was probably recorded probably 2 years into it. Really? Or I would say something like that, quite late. So you kind of start in the middle. You kind of start as the writer's have kind of plonked in. And that's quite a filmic thing. You don't usually start with the first scenes because you got to kind of find where you are anyway. So you start a bit further in and then go back. So you've got more of a run in, or you know more of what the character is and what the sound of it is. So I was nervous in the sense of going, okay, well, I hope I can do this well. But the magnitude of it didn't come into play because I had no idea what it was and no one told me what it was. So you just kind of go, oh, okay, well, hopefully it'll do this. And maybe I'll just try a little bit of that and this and that. And I think it was in those early days that I thought, I think I should make him a little bit funnier. I don't want him to be too serious. I think that maybe that's maybe quite an interesting character thing. And I don't know if that's appeared in games a lot or not, or it's not within the genre or not. I just thought, do you know what? That's a skill set I have. I will make him a little bit funnier and just not taking things quite as seriously as sometimes the directors would like me to do. Like, oh, okay, this is really bad. You're going, everyone's dead. There's children dead all over the place and bodies everywhere. And I thought it'd be quite funny at times for girls to go, wow, that's awful. Anyway, moving on. And I always found that quite an interesting thing to do within games. And I don't know if it's a thing or not, but I found it quite interesting.
No, I mean, that's one thing I think that's lacking in gaming. There's not many comedic games, or they're quite very serious a lot of the time. So I think this character was a bit of a breath of fresh air for people. I'm wondering, how do you balance the comedy aspect with, if he's too comedic, people might not take him serious, or he might turn into a bit of a villainous type because he's not taking things so serious. How do you balance that?
Well, I think with things like that, you've got to give him heart and a grounding and not necessarily a morality or anything else like that, but it's like building any comedy character or any kind of, even like great works of art, even if you take Hamlet, something like that, then you've got to have the Gravedigger's comedy of skulls and you've got to have that to then make the drama much higher. The gap in between is greater. So you kind of are relaxed. It's like the same with horror. Horror and comedy work very, very similar in the sense of, creep, 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 open the door, nothing there. You go, oh, and then the thing happens. And it's very similar beats in comedy, is creating that comfort and then hitting you with something. So it's knowing those rhythms of how things work. And then with the brilliance of the scripts, you can't go too far. It's not going to go, oh, whoops, there go my trousers. That would never, that might be in the latter part of the game. I don't know. But so you try and balance it out. And also, people contain multitudes. Characters contain multitudes. Not everything is serious and not everything is funny. So it's nice to have those light and shade within it, because then there is a humanity in that. And I think that's the connection that you have with any form of art, is you have flaws. Everybody has flaws, good sides, bad sides, and all the multitudes in between. And I think trying to find those and play those just makes a character more interesting.
Definitely. How collaborative was the process for you? Did you feel like you got to make your print? Because it comes through for the players.
Oh, good. No, I really think it was very much a collaborative thing. There was very much, because I think everyone's trying to find the voice and find the character, because obviously the whole thing isn't written by the time you first start. So you do kind of plod your way through and kind of find little bits and pieces. And then you do kind of throw in things because instinct kind of kicks in and you think, well, let's try that. And they can always say no. They can always, as happens all the time, go, no, that's too much, or it's not enough. And then what I found the hardest was the combination of just saying something and then embodying it. And it was that the bringing together of the embodiment of saying, that's really nice the way that line has been said, but it's physically, you've got to give it more because you won't see it, if you see what I mean.
So you feel like you were going a bit too subtle with the movement?
Yeah, a bit too subtle, being too cerebral with things. And so, you just kind of sit there and you could just kind of land a joke just as I'm sitting here to you. And you think, well, that's not going to read. It's not going to tell enough for a player. So you have to give it a little flourish or a little something. So then I think that's when you kind of bring in the subtleties that then make the character, the little kind of ticks and twitches or little kind of ways you bend your head or put an arm out and gesture. You go, okay, this is all now becoming, it's very much like mask work is the closest I can kind of do it is
really
almost like removing expression and physicalizing your work in such a way that is also telling the story as much as voice. You think, oh, okay, this is, and that's like stuff I learned at drama school, my God, like 20 odd years ago. So that was really interesting, going back to that and going, okay, well, maybe it's a little bit like this, which is the closest thing that I could work my head around as to where the art form sits. With varying degrees of success.
When do you think you found your rhythm throughout the process? How long did it take you to finally get the character and click and then hit stride? Do you think?
My God, 4 years in, I would say I finally, I think I finally,
really?
I think I finally got this guy. Last session, but nailed it. He's a wizard.
Can we redo the last 3 years?
Is it all right if we just go back a little bit? That would be good. I think there are literally moments of like clarity where you'll kind of walk into a session, and sometimes it can be just the things that have happened before you even step into the volume, the journey there, or other problems that kind of go on around, or things you just kind of seen, or maybe you're just having a particularly good day because of whatever environmental things are going around. And then sometimes you can walk in and there's a lightness and a freeness, and you'll go, oh my God, that's it. I'm not getting in my own way with my own head of, oh, it's got to be like this. And there's so much technical stuff that you have to kind of factor in, which is all part of the artwork, and how it all kind of comes together. And sometimes when you just give into instinct and do a few bits and go, oh, wow, actually, okay, yes, this is now sitting exactly where I want it to sit. And everyone else seems to think that, okay, great. This is great. And then obviously the problem is you then have a session and then a month and a half later you come back in, you're going, okay, morning, everyone. Sorry, what are we doing? What is this? Oh, right. Could you play back what I did? Right. Okay, fine.
I know you're a bit of a baker and a foodie, and I'm wondering, have you made an edible artifact yet in commemoration for Gail?
No. Do you know what? I only make cakes for my daughter's birthdays because I'm not a baker. I was thrust into this world, and then
I've seen your work.
For kids.
I've seen your work. It's impressive.
Thanks very much. Self-taught, Dan. Self-taught. Not one lesson. Unbelievable, eh?
Wow.
Unbelievable. Just a lot of YouTube videos.
How? The cakes were layered and what?
Oh, they were layered, colored, all kinds of things.
All from YouTube.
All from YouTube. Little ideas and bits and pieces that my daughters would say, oh, I want this cake. And you go, really? You're 6. Okay, fine. No, I'll do it. I'll try it. But it was just learning it through that. And I think if I were to make something, well, actually, it's I've got a birthday coming up in a couple of months. So if I can convince her, okay, what do you want for your? Oh, I'd like, I don't know, a unicorn. Of course you do. Although what you could actually have is we could all be resisting the dark urge, and maybe some sort of artifact that wouldn't blow Daddy up. So I'm just putting it up there. You wouldn't want Daddy blown up, would you? Of course you wouldn't. So why don't we do that?
How old are your daughters? 6 and 7?
27.
Oh,
no.
I'm not sure. So they're probably a while away from playing this one, aren't they?
I think so. Don't want that walking into a room of going, oh, that's a nice bear. What are you playing? Oh, Jesus Christ! You don't want that.
Shit. God, that's funny. I saw this video of you dancing in the booth. What was that all about? Was that last session or something, or were you just having a bit of fun?
No. That's usually when it's the calibration of the room. So they have to calibrate all the cameras to the dots that are on you, so they can get all your movements and all of that things. And sometimes, obviously, technical problems, it goes wrong. So they say, would you ask for a calibration dance? So it calibrates the cameras, so you do as many movements as you possibly can, so it can collate all that data, and you make
so
sure
you're working. That's called work.
That's a working thing. That's an adult working, Dan. That's what you're watching there. An adult man.
I don't believe you.
Mid-40s working hard. I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? You try and convince your children that this is what you do for a living, and they don't believe you. They look at you like you're an idiot. But no, it's just to calibrate the whole room. So I like to incorporate a lot of modern dance within my calibration.
Modern dance,
one's got to. I was giving you the color mauve during that particular piece, and how it clashes against modern expectations of pink.
Very contemporary
So,
piece. Yeah,
I thought so.
Yeah.
So. You gotta do these things. But yeah, there's a whole multitude of other calibration dances of varying skill and degree. That one I'm particularly fond of.
I bet. How did you find the romance stuff and the horniness of this game? Is that something you were expecting?
Absolutely not, Dan. Absolutely not. Just no one mentioned it. Nobody mentioned it. Not a
Really?
gamer, didn't even know it was a feature. Didn't even know it was a feature. So
Yeah.
then one day you walk in and it's like 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, would you like a coffee? Oh, I'd love a coffee. What are we doing today? Everything's ready in there. Great. Okay. You get yourself in there going, so we're doing some romance stuff. And you're literally going, sorry? What? Doing some romance. Oh, right. Is that a thing? Oh, yeah, it's a thing. Oh, okay. How many? Oh, there'll be quite a lot of this. Quite a lot of it? What do you mean? So that was quite interesting. And in fact, there was one scene in particular that we had to record for various different reasons, technical, script changes. We had to record it 4 times, 4 separate sessions. So we're talking nearly 6 hours, maybe 8 hours of recording. And the scene in particular that we had to do was the scene in the weave and the boat scene in the weave. And we had to do that again and again and again. And
I think
would look in,
they're playing a prank on you or something.
Oh, without a doubt, Dan. You didn't need this. The technology at your fingertips, and you need me to do this 4 times. Well, thank you. But yeah, I would look into the booth on those particular occasions, and there was one person in particular who was on technical mocap duties, who was the only person who had to sit through all 4 sessions. And we would look at each other as if to go, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry you're going to have to sit through all of this again. God, take a deep breath, and off we go. And it was, yeah, so that was it. But I had no idea. I just did not know that was even a thing when I did this.
Now, spoilers, guys, if you need to just skip the next few minutes. So there's a few endings for Gail. I'm wondering which one, do you remember shooting them? And do you remember which one you had the most fun with, I'm guessing, or which one you prefer? I'm guessing you don't prefer being blown up.
No, oddly, I don't prefer that one. Although the build up to those are quite fun because it's quite sort of heroic and great. Yeah. And it was very movie-like, which I really enjoyed. You could almost feel like if this was a movie, the camera would zoom in as your face is looking away, and then you'd turn back and you'd say the line, and then it would just gotta go white as the thing just dissolves. And I think, oh yeah, that's really cool. The great thing about, actually, sidestepping, about doing these games is it makes you feel like a 5-year-old. It does me, because what you're asked to do is what I used to do, absolutely, in the best way possible, because it reminded me of when you're like on a summer holiday as like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, and your parents don't want you in the house anymore, so you have to go out in the garden and you have to create a world from like sticks or a tree, and that's your world, and that's like a fucking kingdom you have to conquer by any way. And maybe you've buried a Star Wars figure in the ground that you've just suddenly discovered it. Oh my god, yeah, and this old stormtrooper with one leg is now we're gonna do this together, my friend. And it was having to have that childlike sense of absolute freedom of creating everything in front of you, but just in your head, and believing it. You have to believe it, because if you don't believe it, you can, even though it's an animated piece, you can tell in the way you move, because everything's captured, and in your voice, if you don't believe it as much as you possibly can. And so that was great fun. That was, for me, the best thing about doing it, was that sense of like childlike freedom of going, great. Well, where are we today? Oh, you're in the Underdark. What's that? That sounds awesome. What the hell is that? Oh, it's like this and like this. Great. Okay. So imagine like this. Great. And then you put yourself in. The difficulty, though, is when you skip from one thing to another. So you kind of immerse yourself in this world of going, okay, you're in the Underdark, for instance. Okay, you're here. And then they'll go, great, okay, we finished that section. So you're now on the banks of the Chiantha. What the hell? What? Where? And it's daylight, and it's the middle of the day, and you've just, oh, right, okay, wow. and you have to get yourself into a completely different headspace from being very internal to being very external, and that was quite challenging, but fun. Great fun, Dan.
Where does this rank of all the projects you've done in the fun factor? It's got to be up there, right?
Oh, it's really up there. It's
Yeah.
really up there, just for the amount of freedoms and things, and just the sheer scale of things that you can do. You know, you're doing little bits, you know, that are kind of funny and comical, like with the circus and the clown face and the kind of silliness, and then you're doing dark stuff, really, like when you're possessed by, you know, by the murder things, which was really fun.
That would have been
you really
fun.
Go, just push it and just go wherever you want with it. Just you know, but it's got to be dark.
That's the real asshole version.
That's and then the funny stuff, like, you know, Gail as a hologram, and in my head it was like, Gail as a hologram. It would probably
people
be
love that, mate. They love that.
I loved every second when they said you're doing Gail as a hologram. I was like, yes, I love this.
Me included.
I had images
love
of
it.
Red Dwarf, of Rimmer. I was like, yeah, let's do that. But yeah, it was great fun. It was a lot of work and hard work to get it all done and to give it all the things that it needed and that it warranted. But my God, it was fun. What fun to do, just to go and play, dress up in a suit. Suit wasn't fun, I'll be honest with you. Very little to the imagination, I'll be honest with you, Dan. But still haven't shifted all that COVID weight. So, you know, that was something. But great fun.
You didn't have to worry about that, though, did you? That was for the other people.
Don't, but it's when you're wandering around for like 4 hours and just trying to have a conversation with someone. So how was your trip in? yeah, it's fine. So I'm sorry about all this. It's all a bit.
Do you miss the mustache? I noticed you got a full beard now.
Yeah, I do. This is my homage to Gail. I thought I'd put this on.
Yeah,
I do miss the mustache. I do miss it, and because it became such a sort of trademark, and also it's just a funny thing to have, because it kind of enlarges your features, that mustache. So yeah, I do miss it. I think it will definitely make a return again. Once I finish this, I'm going to take this off to give my face a breather and for my children to recognize me again. But then I think, okay, at some point it'll definitely come back.
I was going to say, what did your partner and kids think?
Well, I did the first time I ever shaved it off, I was doing Outlander, and the part I play in Outlander, you have to be clean. Great show, great fun to do. Again, enormous fun. Another one of those. But for that particular part, because of when it's set, I had to be clean shaven, and I hadn't been clean shaven. So my youngest daughter, when she was born, I had a moustache right the way up to probably she was like, I don't know, 4 or 3, maybe something like that. Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that's what daddy looks like. And they always say that when you take off something like that, something that's quite a strong facial,
they don't recognize you anymore.
And it's absolutely true, Dan.
Oh no! Isn't that heartbreaking?
Oh, it was absolutely sure. It was not only heartbreaking, it was also very dangerous, because I said, oh, well, don't worry, we'll do it in the morning. We'll do it together. We'll shave it off. And then they said, oh no, you're going to have to leave quite early. So, all right. And if you've had a moustache for a while, your lip kind of curls down. So you do look a bit like a turtle. So it needs a bit of time to plump up. So I shaved it off, and I said, no, it's going to be fine. I'll shave it off. So then in the morning, I came in to see her and said, morning, like that. Morning. She literally opened her eyes, screamed, and poked me so hard in the eye that it burst all the blood vessels. What? And it went completely black. Like my eyeball bled so much, it went completely black. I then had to go up to Scotland to film Outlander, and walking in, dressed in that thing, going, morning, everyone. If you could just shoot me from this side. Well, why is that? What's the problem? It's because of this. And everyone went, Jesus Christ. So there's one particular scene in Outlander.
Oh my goodness.
I'm only shot from this side. And if I do that, then the amount of money it took to CGI my eye out and place another one in, because of, I mean, it was like, you know, I think it's like the Borg, you know, that kind of black eyeball.
Shit.
Just soulless.
Did it hurt?
Do you know what? No, it did. It hurt. It was like stunning at the first. And then it was like, oh, okay, it's fine. And I don't know if you've ever had an eyeball bleed, Dan, but what it does
I
is
haven't.
because it's very thin, it's a slow creep. So the blood drains down. Gravity kind of pulls it down, but it doesn't have anywhere to go. So it's like blood on glass. So if you were like to push it together, it just goes, even though it's tiny. So the whole eyeball went black, just blood black.
How long till it went back normal?
Oh, a good couple of weeks. A good couple of weeks.
Really?
It fades, and then you can almost like see the slow drain as it goes down, which again is very strange. But yeah, that was interesting. So I don't recommend taking off facial hair.
No. How did you convince her it was dad?
She's still a bit unsure, even 3 or 4 years later now. She's still a little bit...
Still working on it.
Still working on it. Like some dystopian Philip K. Dick short story of, are you really... I don't know. There's something other. Yeah.
All right. We've got some really good fan questions here that people have sent through. We'll go through some of them now. Where did Gail get his abs from? That's from Green Harrow. I think they modeled it off your real body, right?
It's completely modeled off my own physique. I insisted on that because I'm just in such fine physical shape. So thank you for your question.
And you are very modest too.
I'm incredibly modest. I think that comes through in Gail's performance as well. He's just incredibly modest, calm man. I guess there's someone incredibly well ripped that they just kind of brought in and went, we'll just dot that up.
Now you really are being modest. Ash in New Zealand, he says, could he really hear Clem Fandango?
Yeah. Yes, that's a reference to Toast of London. Because there's a scene in the series of Toast of London with Matt Berry where I'm in the booth doing voiceovers. The irony of the career trajectory of an actor. And it's the catchphrase of the show is, yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. The number of times I have stood in that volume.
I didn't know. I didn't know it was a sore point. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. But the number of times I've stood in that volume and they've not pressed the button. And I just put your finger on the button. And quotes like that of going, can you hear me? Yes. Yes. All of that. Yeah, it's good fun.
It's kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. How many times do you think he said people go up to him and say, I'll be back, get to the chopper,
Oh, I think more than he would ever care to mention. And maybe like Brian Blessed in Flash Gordon, that you don't even have to say anything. He'll say, Gordon's alive. You just do it. I did an advert with Brian Blessed, which I was very thrilled at. And at the time I was going to India, I was going to the Himalayas. And I thought, Blessed loves mountains. He's a big mountain guy. I'll ask him about that. That'll be my gateway drug into a conversation with Brian Blessed. And he basically walked in before it even said anything. He walked in and he literally said, hello, everyone. How are you? Gordon's alive. And he said, brilliant. Just straight into the catchphrase. Don't even need any prompting.
Really?
Fantastic.
You're kidding.
It was amazing. No,
what?
It was amazing. It was amazing.
God, get it over and done with now. Nice and early.
Absolutely. Give them what they want. Give them what they want. It's like playing that one hit at a concert. I don't want to hear the back catalogue. I want to hear that one hit again.
Oh, that's brilliant. Alachukun. Sorry, I'm going to stuff people's names up here. How did you find the character of Gail to be, and was it difficult to get into the character?
It wasn't difficult to get into the character, but it was a kind of continual experiment in finding like his heart and soul and kind of where he's from and all of those little things that make characters nuanced and really interesting. You kind of start with a broad palette of going, okay, well, I'll do this, 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 and this. Okay, well, that's quite a good place to start. But then it's the subtleties within all of that are the bits to find, like when he gets very serious or falls in love. And so you really have to kind of dig deep for those to make that truthful. I mean, it all sounds very methody, but you have got to find it within to make those things as honest as you possibly can. Because also then, if you don't, what's the point in doing it? Like, that's the job of an actor, regardless of what you do. It's to find the truth, as much of the truth as you can, and then to play that as much as as you can, as is comfortable, and then to go beyond that and just kind of really push yourself. So those bits are always challenging.
Do you struggle pushing yourself, or do you?
I'm just not an emotional man, Dad. I'm not an emotional man. No, I'm. It's not necessarily a struggle. It's just, you know, it's hard when you're jumping around as well to go from something like battles to then romance to then breakup.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's
so the jump around is hard, because usually you would have a kind of run into it. So you go, okay, this is where the scene goes, and then you run into it, and it's exhausting to do that, and to hopefully do it as well as you can. But you find it again. You go back to being like a 5-year-old again. You go into your head and you find those spaces that maybe you haven't really looked at for a long time, or maybe you haven't looked at for a reason. And sometimes they are the ones to go into within the kind of dark recesses of your head to go, okay, yeah, let's unlock that. Let's unlock that bit of pain. Let's unlock that little bit of sorrow or heartbreak, because that's going to be the truth of the matter, is if you tap into that and try and play that as much as you can.
Who was your favorite love interest for Gail from Big Bad Beetle Boy? Great name. Yeah.
Favorite love interest.
If you have to pick one.
I don't know. It's really hard. I think Gail would probably just pick himself if he had to pick anybody.
You know, Jennifer was saying, you know, he's probably the easiest to romance, kind of, you know, calling you out a little bit as a bit of a, you know, quite an easy target.
Yeah, he is quite an easy target, but he also, I think, feels things very deeply. And so therefore, yeah, it's probably easy to start off, but then it gets a bit, you know, it gets a bit trickier. It almost gets a bit more like, I would almost imagine, like a proper relationships, as in, well, then it's a two-way street. It's a two-way thing. Okay, you're going to have to do stuff as well. It's not just me. It's the two of us together. We're going to create something, which I think makes it a bit more interesting. So yeah, easy to start off. God, he only wants to be loved. He's got a library and a cat. I mean, you know what I mean? An Elminster. I mean, come on. You know, please give them out a break.
Was that discussed, what you just said then? Was that something you discussed with the guys at Larian or any of the team, the directors? Or was that something that just naturally happened?
It is discussed and it is talked about, but then it's discovered. A lot of it is through discovery, which is almost kind of like a rehearsal. I mean, it's not really a rehearsal because you're actually recording it, but you tread softly on things and you begin to kind of find out, okay, well then, because also there's a lot of divergence within the script, because there are so many choices. How you play the start of something like that, then you branch off into so many different permutations of what that seed will then bring out, that it makes it quite complicated in your own head. Because obviously as an actor, you have a script, it goes from A to B to C. This is the trajectory. Either it's a good outcome, it's a bad outcome, it's, you know, a miscellaneous outcome. But on this, it could be any of those things and all of those things and none of those things. So that made it quite a sort of mind fuck at times, especially with the more emotional, darker stuff, because you have to put yourself in so many different throngs of an idea and then play those quite quickly. Like it will dip from here to here to here to here to here. And you'll make assumptions sometimes to go, okay, I think I know where this is going. No, it doesn't go necessarily go that way. It may go this way or that way. So
they reel you in a bit.
That's where that's where the technicality comes in as well. Okay, right. So I have to pitch this in a more ambiguous way. So it could go this way or that way, rather than, oh, I'm angry now, or I'm upset now. Be more ambiguous, and then as it branches off, then you can explore. So that was
But you had the core values that you kept throughout, no matter what. No matter what path you were going down. Yeah,
very, very much. Because again, I think that gives it layering and character interest. Is sometimes the conflict within yourself. Yes, I may be doing this particular thing that I don't like or feel like I should do, but it's got to come from a place that the audience understands. It's like watching an evil character doing something bad. it's got to come from, if it's just outright evil for the sake of it, you kind of lose interest, because it's like, well, that's just horrible. That's just, there's no reason
100%.
for it. But if you give the character a reason, and the reason kind of go, okay, well, okay, it's extreme what you've done, but I do see why you've done it, or where you've been to get to that point. Then I find that then, as an audience, as the player, is far more nuanced and deep and questioning. You then begin to question your own choices in things, or your own kind of place within, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I would have done that. Why would I have done that? And that makes it a lot more meta and a lot more interesting, I think.
Have you seen much of your work? Have you been looking stuff up? Have you seen many clips?
I've seen little bits and pieces. To be honest with you, I just don't know where to start. It's so vast and so big. I've seen kind of clips of things and bits and pieces. I almost want it to kind of be laid out in like just all the kind of sequences of everybody's kind of bits. No gameplay, because I wouldn't know what on earth I was doing, but just kind of just to see.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
the
just sort of
permutations
an
of the story, and just just kind of watch it passively, kind of just watch it. Because the other thing I was blown away with is just how good the animation is. Just extraordinary. Like in my head, it was still animated like the Lawnmower Man. Do you remember the Lawnmower Man, the Stephen King adaptation? That's what I imagined in my head the animation was still like.
Oh,
so you could
you're
imagine
funny.
my surprise, Dan, when they said, "Oh, here we go. We'll just show you this little clip." And I was watching it going, "Is this a trailer? Is this just a trailer? This is it. This is the game."
But when
I
you
was
see,
absolutely blown away.
and when you're seeing your facial work in this character, because you can see the little nuances in the facial, were you thinking, wow, this is crazy?
Yeah, it was one of the most freaky things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Genuinely, it really, really took me back. You know, obviously, as an actor, you're used to kind of seeing yourself, but you're seeing yourself as yourself. And this, you're seeing a character that, you know, vaguely looks like you know, as a man with a beard. You go, okay, I can get behind it, but it isn't you. But then it has all your little ticks and the way you just kind of move a hand, or you just do a tiny little motor gesture, and it's all there, it's all captured. And that I found absolutely mind-boggling. Like, wow, that's incredible. That was one of the most revelatory things as part of this game that I'd seen, going, wow, it really picks up everything and records everything, and the choices you make do go in. So it is a performance. It really, really is a performance. You're not just kind of going in doing the numbers. It is a performance, a full performance, you know, which is, amazing.
BizKid Paladin, what is your favorite spell, Tim?
My favorite spell, I don't know, is the answer to that. There are so many spells. There are just so many spells in varying degrees. I just couldn't.
It's one of those things. There's too many, you forget even one. You can't even
you really do. And when you've got to do them one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, for about an hour, you kind of go, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. The best part of that, well, best and worst part of that was actually during COVID, because during COVID, we obviously couldn't record. So we had to get a home, you didn't have to, but it was suggested you get a home studio. So then you try and pull together a home studio over that period. And certain little components of that were like fucking gold dust. Like you couldn't buy there was a little thing called a Scarlet, I think it's like a Scarlet receiver or something, which is what you plug your mics into. And then it goes into your into the computer.
It's like a Willy Wonka golden ticket sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh my God. You couldn't buy. They were sold out in the UK, completely sold out. You had to go to like Germany and get them shipped over. It was unbelievable. So anyway, you had to do that. And during that particular first COVID summer in the UK, it was unbelievably hot. It was a glorious summer. No one was allowed outside, but it was beautiful. And they said, would you start doing some recordings just for spells and noises and things like that, just, you know, in the interim? Yeah, that's fine. So I set up this studio in my daughter's bedroom at the top of the house, like a fucking furnace. And obviously what you have to do is I had to open up her wardrobe, because obviously the clothes deaden all the sound, throw a duvet over that, then get a light with the laptop and all your kind of bits together. And then you were up there for 2 or 3 hours. It was so
Sweaty.
unbearably hot. It was absolutely, it was
like
awful.
a sauna.
And they were saying, okay, so what we want you to do today, just as a starter, we're going to do some death sounds. Great. What does that mean? Okay, you've walked into a lake of ice. Now, we want this to sound different to walking into a lake of fire. Right. Haven't got much of a reference for that. I'll give it a whirl. So then you're doing that. Now you've been hit by a sword. Okay. Now you've been hit by an arrow. Okay. A flurry of arrows. Okay. A spear. I should have been unbelievable. I then had my youngest daughter run up the stairs screaming, going, "Is daddy okay? Is daddy okay?" Because I was just all of that. Which I thought, no, sorry, daddy's working. Sorry. God. Yeah, he's sweating quite a lot. I know, he's in shorts. Go on, off your pop. That's great. No, just another couple of hours. No, don't take that. Don't take that.
God. That's so random, but it's
really
you'll never forget that, will you? You'll never forget that.
Neither will she. What with that and the moustache, she's scarred for life, bless her.
Oh shit. Crazy Kirby, bless you for nailing the voice and performance of such an adorable, pathetic man. Is that a compliment?
That's very sweet of you. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Your performance is what sold me to romance him and pre-order the game on PS5. There you go.
Well, then, Larian can thank me later. You're welcome, Larian. What can I say? I've hit a real pressure point there. No, thank you. I think it all, if people like it for whatever reason or however they kind of connect with it, great. The worst thing as an actor is if someone says, "Yeah, it's all right." That's the I want a reaction. I either want someone to say, "This is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've had to burn my computer because of you." I would take that as a great compliment, as much as it's wonderful. I love it. All of those things. But just gotta go, "Yeah, it was all right." Who are you again? Get out of here, I'd say. Get out of here. How dare you?
Are you also a cat person like Gail? That's from Aussie Nugget.
No, I'm not really an animal person, mainly because I like to keep things nice. And that kind of, I just don't want to clean up.
You don't like the hair everywhere.
They're animals enough. I don't want that. Cleaning up other I don't shit everywhere. I'm not in the mood for that. Or walking down the stairs at 6 a.m. What was that? Oh, Chairman Meow's done it again. I don't want that on the stairs. Thank you.
What's the least scale voice you could think you could do? Imagine you were working on another project as something other than the clever wizard.
Mm-hmm.
What voice would you come up with? That's from Cedric.
I'm quite a good mimic of things. I used to do, because I did a lot of comedy as a kid, and then in sort of like my early 20s did stand-up and lots of other bits and pieces like that. I could do a lot of accents and changes of voice and things like that, just because it was a necessity to kind of create different characters. If it's just you on stage to create different characters and different characters that talk to different things, you kind of got to get your ear in the game of, oh, okay. Yeah. And the first one I ever did is, my dad's from Scotland. So I did, when I was, this is so precocious, as a like 10-year-old doing a school play, and I had to play the Sheriff of Nottingham. And I made a choice then of going, wouldn't it be quite fun to do it in a Scottish accent? To which every teacher's like, okay, this could be shit. Okay, yeah, why not? Why don't you give that a go? And I think that's the birth of where the acting bug comes from, is when you walk on stage as this little kid dressed, almost like Henry Cavill in the Tudors, being the Sheriff of Nottingham. And then it comes out with, "You're right there, pal, what you doing?" And you're going,
"Oh shit, that's good.
What the hell is that?" And it creates a laugh, and suddenly you kind of go, "Oh wow, okay, this is."
You get the feedback from the crowd. Yeah,
you do, and that's quite that's that.
So is that the moment? Is that the moment where you wanted to become an actor?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it is. I mean, I didn't know at the time there was even like a thing you could do. Like, it didn't feel like a thing you could do, because it's play. What you're doing is you're playing and creating and doing all the things that you would do as a child instinctively anyway. So then the idea that you could do that as a living as an adult doesn't seem real. That doesn't seem like a job you do. You have to kind of, because obviously you look at your parents and you look at your parents' friends and you think, well, that's jobs. You get dressed and you get in a car and you drive to work and you drive back again at the same times all the time. You don't really think this is something you could actually do. So you just treat it as, oh, this is really good and I'm good at it and I enjoy it. So, maybe I'll just do it for a bit, and then real life will kick in. But then obviously the dangerous thing for any parent is when the child realizes, wait a second, I can do this as a living. I see. Yes, but you might not work or earn any money. But I can do this as a living. Then yeah.
Is it harder to be? I want to get into the stand-up, but is it harder to be a actor when you're a parent? Do you think?
I don't know. I think
is there like something over you, like I've got to find the next job sort of thing?
There is, but I tell you something. It's freed me more than when I didn't have kids, and the reason being is I think purely from my perspective is, as an actor you can be quite selfish because it is kind of about you and your emotion and all of these things that you do to create character and create the scene and to make the scene work. So it can be quite a selfish endeavor in order to create something. And when I had my kids, I suddenly realized, actually, do you know what? I'm now not doing this for me. I'm not doing this just for me to either become rich or famous or all those things that you think of when you're young and aspiring. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this so that they can have stuff and they can have the things that I didn't have, and they can do all of this. And that is such an enormously freeing thing that then it becomes so altruistic that actually it almost makes you, or made me, more relaxed of going, okay, well, this is not about me now. I'm doing this for someone else. And having that altruistic feel of your work just makes you, or made me feel more relaxed about, oh my God, I need this. Yes, that is there, of course. I wouldn't be crazy enough to say, oh yes, and then the work flooded in. It doesn't work like that.
No.
But your mindset is all important in this job. And then to have that shift and that change, I've found revelatory and great and really nice. And then when you do things and you can give your children those things because of the work you are doing, because of a dream of a 5-year-old 40 odd years ago on a stage in a village, and now that's created where you are now, I think that's an
great,
extraordinarily magical, wonderful thing that you can do and still can do. Like I can still do it now at where I am now, which I just think is one of the greatest things.
And you can show them that you're doing something you love. Like this is your passion,
Very much, very much. And that's great. That's great. It's following that dream, and it's following that sort of, you only get one chance at this. So try it. It might not work. If it doesn't work, you tried it. And you'll know as time goes on, as age teaches you, things shift and move. You don't always get one go round. You get many bites of the cherry. You get many chances at things, but you just got to keep trying. And if you really want it, then you just got to keep going. And hopefully it will happen. And then there's also the other aspect of that of kind of knowing when enough is enough. But why not, for the moment, try it. Go for it. What's the worst that can happen? They're going to say no. Well, you're in that position anyway. You're already not doing it. So you might as well try it. Why not?
Yeah, it doesn't change your current circumstance. Yeah. How was stand-up? How did you find that? That's not
brutal.
Easy to do.
It's absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. We used to do so I joined this comedy class, which was an improv comedy group. Which I thought at the time, okay, that could be quite fun. It's absolutely brutal, like doing improv comedy in front of an audience on a barge on the Thames on Friday nights was like, okay, this is, because you're going on stage thinking, I have no idea what to do. Oh Christ, there's a lot of people here and they want to be entertained. Right, I have absolutely no idea what I'm about to say. And then you really have to kind of trust in instinct, and you have certain things that you can hook things on, kind of going, okay, well, that's quite funny, and that's quite funny. So if we're anywhere near these things, I will be able to do this.
Yeah.
I can reel that in, and then hopefully that will kind of spew up something else. But it was absolutely a baptism by fire. But it teaches you about audience, and it teaches you about reading a room and just how to kind of shift things. If things aren't working, thinking on your feet and moving things around, and not being frightened to just go, okay, it's not working, ditch it, let's do something else, let's try something else. And just having another go until it sticks. Okay, that's good. Remember that, and then you move on from those kind of things. But it was an absolute baptism.
How do you bounce back when the crowd just don't laugh? You know,
you just leave, Dan. You just leave the fucking stage, because there's no point. If they hate you, just leave. Just go. It's been a great night. You've been awful, and leave. I mean, there are ways back, but you've really got. I mean, it's tough. It will test your mettle, the likes of which you have never seen. Also, sometimes when it's just you on stage and there's like an audience, like, I don't know, 30 people or something, that's quite okay. If 30 people hate you, or you just done something that nobody likes, or the room is just completely silent, okay.
Oh man,
how can I bring the energy up of this room? How can I do? What can I do? What can I do? Which is why you need those little hooks to kind of go, okay, that died on its ass, and let's go to something I know will hopefully bring them back around to then.
So did you have a bombing experience? Did you have an experience like that?
You go through quite a few. You go through quite a few of them. And they are big learning curves. And it does make you think,
do they scar you?
They do and they don't. They do scar you, because it almost sets the seed of fear in you.
Yes,
for doing it, like knowing it can happen, and you need it to happen. Yeah, and you need it to happen if you're going to pursue that particular thing as being a stand-up. You need it to happen, because if it doesn't, then you will be completely wrong-footed the first time it does happen, which inevitably it will, or a heckler, or somebody does something, or you pick the wrong person in an audience, and all those kind of things. So you do really need it to happen, because then it will just make you more comfortable in future performances to go, okay, well, I've seen every permutation of how this can go absolutely terribly. Okay, well, then we should be okay, no matter what happens. I mean, things still surprise you. I had a friend of mine who was doing a gig at a university. It's going so badly. He decided, he said, I'll tell you what, I know what you people want. So he got in a shopping trolley with a crash helmet, pulled a box over him, and had one of the other comics push him across the stage as they throw bottles at him. So it can go that bad.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah.
Good on him, I guess.
Oh yeah. It's quite a well-known comedian.
At least he went out with a bang. I'll give you a couple more from the fans. Did you associate purple with Gale? If not, what would you have imagined his favorite color would be?
I think definitely the blues. I think the blues are nice, and those kind of, I would probably go quite autumnal colors with him, just because the one thing I think I really share with Gale is that love of books and libraries and things like that. And so I always associate that particular kind of aesthetic with autumn. So I would always put those autumnal, russety, sort of darker blues and kind of hues into it. And I think there's a deep romance in all of that as well. It's not just kind of like someone's going to the library. It's more, there is a beauty and a real romance in books and old things. And it's a comfort blanket as well. And it's sort of really, I couldn't think of anything better. Rain outside, reading a book. Glorious.
Is that, what about with the poetry? Are you a poet? Because he loves poetry as well.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of poetry.
Yeah?
Wrote a lot of obviously embarrassing poems as a kid. Obviously, that's what we all did. Unrequited love, etc., etc. Maybe exploring, what a tree means, or a chrysanthemum, all that kind of stuff. But no, I love poetry. I mean, there's some terrible poetry, but honestly, when you hit poetry that is great, that something just absolutely taps into you, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything better. So, and the master of one of my favorite poets is Ted Hughes. Love Ted Hughes. And for me, he can drop a line that will just go straight through you. And it is, he works a lot on, or drawn a lot of influence from sort of ancient Britain, pagan-y styles of writing. It's very Anglo-Saxon in his way he will kind of combine words, which I find extraordinary, and it just taps something in me that just makes me go, oh, that's brutal and beautiful at the same time. Like The Hawk in Rain is an extraordinary piece. So yeah, I mean, I love poetry.
I can tell. Spoiler question: as if you are Gale, would you recreate the crown for yourself, or only if it's needed, like to get rid of the orb? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would I create the crown? I remember doing those scenes and thinking, because obviously all the permutations that come off of it, of thinking, well, obviously you'd keep the crown. Keep the fucking crown. That sounds amazing. You'll become like the king of everything. And you get back with Mistra. Please don't keep talking about Mistra, Dan. I'm over Mistra. We've established this. It was a long time. I broke up with her. I broke up with her. If she's still going on about me, that's her thing. We're done with it. Please don't bring it up again, Dan. But I think you'd do that to then be on a level with Mistra. Be like, yeah, I think you'd keep that, and it would get rid of the orb as well. I think, yeah, keep the damn crown. Don't give the crown away. Goodbye, Boulders. Good luck with everything. Good luck with all of this. So it's been great. Really has.
Oh God. Why, Choppy? He says, why do you keep trying to sleep with me despite me saying no?
Look, this guy's been trash talking me for a while now. Okay, honestly, it's your thing, not mine. I'm just trying to get on with my life. All right. You've got to get over me. Is basically what that is. It's quite toxic. So there you go.
And then finally, what do you want people to take away from the character? Tim.
What am I going to take away? I think there's so much to take away. I think there's a real joy in Gale, and I think there's also longing and sorrow and hope, and there's so much, like, he yearns to go back to Waterdeep, and he yearns to be in his library with his Tressim, and he wants all those things. He wants a simple existence at the end of the day. Yes, to kind of be the greatest wizard of all time, but there's also those elements of homeliness, of just kind of wanting to be at ease and calm within your space in a world that's actually gone, insane and crazy. So I think actually there's a little bit of everybody in Gale, whether people want to admit it or not, is that yearning for a better thing. He doesn't particularly want to fight. He doesn't particularly want to do this. He's thrust into it because it kind of, well, this is where we are, and we have to, it has to be done. We have to do this. But all he wants to do is, have a sherry, read a book, not talk about Mistra, because I'm over that. We don't need to do that. And yeah, lead a quiet life in Waterdeep, probably eat some cheese, sit on the veranda, So I think there's a little bit of that in all of us, whether we want to admit it or not.
Do you think you want to do more games in the future, or do you think this will be it for you, or what do you see? You open to it?
I would love to do more games. I would love to do more games. I mean, I know I've started quite high. Might have fucked
it's all downhill from here,
but it's all downhill from here now, basically. But it's such an extraordinary, vast art area that I didn't really comprehend or kind of really knew existed within how this thing is put together. And now I just find it endlessly fascinating as to how just the technical parts and how you can convey so much, and you get to do so much story because of all the different permutations of what can happen and how they can go. I tell you what it reminds me of. You might be too young for this, but do you remember the books of Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yeah, I do. I do know them. Yeah.
In the 90s, there was a whole series of books that was Choose Your Own Adventure, and there was a series of Dungeons and Dragons based ones that came out, and I remember reading these in school, and I think the bit that hit for me, absolutely subconsciously, was feeling like that again. I'm choosing my own adventure in this, and then feeling upset if it doesn't really go the way you do. So you kind of do a couple of pages back, and then you go off in a different direction. And that, I find, it's like a modern version. Well, it is, obviously, it's like the most hyper modern version of that you can get. And so, yeah, I'd be well up for more.
Did you know much about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, or did you have to be
only
piped in about it? Or
I knew of it. I obviously watched Stranger Things. I watched the cartoon religiously as a kid growing up, which I think was like late 80s, early 90s. I watched that all the time. And I remember one in particular episode, which for some reason I recorded and then just kept on, you kind of put your videotapes back in. And that would always be the one that came up, which was one called The Eye of the Beholder. And I remember watching that a lot, of this kind of weird ball creature with one eye with lots of tendrils. And it used to kind of slightly scare me as a kid, but I was fascinated by it. Yeah. But I still kind of, okay, yeah, I like this. I don't really understand it. Amazing. And it was one of those cartoons on those particular kind of Saturday mornings that seemed to never end. Just endless amounts of episodes of like, okay, here we go. More of this. So I knew of it. I didn't know how to play it. I still don't know how to play it as a board game or what goes into it or any of that. But I get that. I kind of vaguely understand the world that it sits in.
Thank you for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it. Is there anything you wanted to say to the fans that have tuned in today?
Thank you for continuing to play and to kind of, put Gail in your party. Yes, I know he's easy to die at times. And yes, you should pull him out of that rock and not cut his arm off, as people have told me. But it's been a real unbelievable journey to get to this point. And now the reception has been overwhelming, absolutely overwhelming as to how it's been received and how it's kind of taken with people. So I guess I just want to say thank you. And I hope it brings many, many more hours of joy.
Yeah, and you did a phenomenal job, man. So, well, congratulations. And you've got Instagram, Twitter, Cameo. What am I missing?
Yeah, nothing. That's it. That's the lot. You've done my full compliment, and I thank you.
And I'll leave those in the description, and make sure to follow Tim on there. And before I let you go, Tim, can Gail say something to Dan to wrap this one up?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. How about you've been listening to Dan Allen, Resisting the Dark Urge, talking to the greatest wizard this side of, well, anywhere. Available for weddings, children's parties, and world-ending apocalypses.
Just turn it on like that. There you go.
Just like that.
Thank you, Tim. We appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, mate.